back to another Top Tips episode from Palm Equipment. My name's Jake and I'm going to be your coach for today. Today we're going to be looking at the sweep stroke. If you've not seen episodes 1 or 2, which are on the fundamentals of posture and forward paddling, then I recommend you go back and watch those first because they're going to be handy for this episode. So we're talking about the sweep stroke. What is the sweep stroke? Well, it's a fantastic stroke that's utilised for turning the boat or even stopping the boat from getting turned. And that's quite important in whitewater kayaking, as the water's often trying to push the nose of our kayak off in different directions. And if we have a good stroke to combat that, then it really makes us a far more accurate and robust kayaker. I want to get some basic fundamentals sorted so that you guys understand some of the forces on the boat and when and where to use this stroke. So if the boat is sat stationary on a lake, or also sat stationary on a river and moving at the same speed as the water, then the boat has, very little hull speed, so there's not a lot of water coming under the boat. Alternatively, if we're paddling along a lake or downstream on the river so that we're going fast in the water, or breaking into a flow where we've got a lot of water running under the boat, even though we're not moving downstream particularly fast at that moment as we cross that eddy line, there's still a lot of speed going under. That's when we have a high hull speed. And in those situations, there's the influence of the water on the front of the kayak. So as the water hits the front of the kayak and goes underneath it, the first thing it hits is the bow, and it starts to make a bow wave, and it kind of holds it there. It sort of pins it slightly. Whereas the tail of the boat doesn't have quite the same forces, and as a result, it's kind of easier to move the tail of the boat than it is to try and move the nose of the boat. So there's our two scenarios. With the sweep stroke, if we're in that stationary scenario where we have very little hull speed, then it makes sense that the sweep stroke starts from the front of the boat and goes all the way around to the back of the boat, because we can move the front of the boat and we can move the back of the boat. It's free to sort of pivot from underneath our bums, as you were. Alternatively though, if we've got high hull speed, so if we're making that break in or we're paddling downstream, trying to move the nose of the boat where it's anchored there at the front, that's going to be very difficult. So we're much better off concentrating our efforts on moving the back of the boat, okay? So let's start with the sweep stroke and talk about the technique if we've got no hull speed. So we've got the pivot point, which is probably about under our bum in this case. So that's where the kayak's going to spin from. The nose is free to spin and the tail is free to spin, and it's going to center around our pelvis. So in this case, we're going to be looking at doing this nice kind of classic rainbow arc type shape where we go from about as far forwards as we can reach with the paddle all the way around to the back of the boat, and it's that nice compass shaped arc. To start with, you're going to need yourself a pole or your paddle. In this case, we've got a pole because the paddle doesn't fit into the studio, so sorry about that. And what we're going to do is we're going to get into a pre-wound position. So how that's going to look is you're going to twist forward slightly so that the sit bones that you're sat on that we talked in episode 1, okay, make sure you're in that good posture to start with, sat upright on those sit bones, and allow your right cheekbone to come forwards and your left one to come back. That's going to open up your shoulders, and by doing so, it's going to give you more forwards reach, okay? I've not had to bob forwards, all I've done is twisted forwards. My left arm, the top arm in this case, okay, this one's very important. It's the elbow's kind of guided itself backwards here, come up into this natural position. You'll notice that I'm not holding the paddle shaft super tightly, because if I do it, it makes it awkward. I can't get into the right shape. So light hands on the paddle shaft. From here, we're going to allow this top hand to push across whilst keeping this bottom arm in a straight sort of line. Okay, that's going to be the guiding arm. This is going to be the power arm. And as we do so, we're going to unwind and wind to the other side with our pelvis. So here we go, pre-wound, paddle goes in, unwinding with the pelvis, pushing across with the top hand, sweeping the water, and then pulling with the bottom elbows to finish off the stroke by sweeping the water under the kayak. You're going to notice here that the top hand has not dropped, it's stayed at shoulder level. And this is really important. A huge mistake with a lot of people's sweep strokes is that they drop the top hand, and in doing so it stops your ability to twist your body, and it also makes you less strong. If you end up in this position with the arms down here, you'll find that you're not very stable. I feel like I'm going to fall off my bench right now, which is not good. Whereas if I'm up here with my top arm, okay, I'm in a much stronger position. It allows all these muscles down my side to stay activated and gives a much better job of being able to squeeze with the paddle at the back. So, to go back through that, initiation, we pre-wind, we reach for the stroke, top arm is up, hands are light, and we're drawing a big arc, and as we get to the hips, the top arm pushes across out to the side, and the bottom arm pulls in. And you'll see that my finished position, I'm in this kind of twisted position where my chest is open up to the other side because I've gone all the way around. So that's in a static position where there's no whole speed under the boat, and you can keep doing those and you can keep the boat spinning. Works great if you're moving downriver at the same speed as the water. The second type of stroke is where we're moving faster than the water, or the water's moving faster than us. You know, we've got the whole speed coming under the kayak's alive, and the kayak is anchored more at the front than the center, which means it makes a lot more sense to try and turn the back of the boat, not the front of the boat. So for me, what I actually like to do is I don't even bother with the first part of that stroke in that scenario. More often than not, I'll just do a forward part of the stroke. And then when I get to my hips, I allow the paddle to slice out towards the side, and then I finish off the stroke by coming from wide through to the back of the boat, sweeping that water. Notice top hand stays high the whole time, still hasn't dropped. So it's all about that pre-wind up, doing the first part of the forward stroke, getting to our hips, allowing the blade to come out to the side. You need a bit of feather control for that so that you can slice the paddle out, and then doing the squeeze here. This stroke is perfect if you're entering the white water from an eddy, so you want to pull yourself over the eddy line with that forward stroke, and then quite often what we're looking to do is not turn the boat, but stop the boat getting turned downstream. And this stroke is ideal where we can kind of squeeze that water, and it's a longer, slower stroke. It's not a quick one, but we keep that grip and that control on the water by being in this strong position where the top hand's out, we're wound, our pelvis is rotated slightly, we've got good pressure probably through our feet, and we can stop the nose of the kayak turning too quickly and instead traverse out through to the river. So that's the swoop stroke. Make sure that you practice it on both sides in the different ways for the different scenarios, and I hope that was useful, and we'll see you for the next Top Tips episode.